Welcome to today's Explainer. So today we are tackling four absolutely fundamental concepts: space, matter, movement, and time. Now look, I know exactly what you're probably thinking. Staring at the ceiling, pondering the abstract physics of space and time, well, it can feel incredibly heavy, downright confusing, or just, let's be honest, kind of boring. But we're doing something a little different today. We are going to make this highly entertaining. How? We're going to take these massive, untouchable concepts, lock them in a room together, and just let them argue it out.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, a dialogue on existence, space versus time.
So, I want you to imagine this as the ultimate cosmic debate. It's basically an odd couple sitcom, but played out on a universal scale. Picture time just strutting into the room, glancing over at the vast, totally silent stage of space, and playfully kicking things off. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Time asks. Now really, this is essentially an insult. Time is totally calling out space for just sitting there, being completely static, just boring forever and always. Time thrives on action, right? So to time, space looks, well, completely useless.
But space doesn't just sit there and take it. No way. Space delivers this absolutely devastating existential clapback. "Nothing," space calmly replies. "You are quite stressed. You're always moving, but you don't even actually exist." Boom. I mean, space is arguing that, sure, okay, it might not do anything active, but it can absolutely solidly prove its own existence. Time? On the other hand, space essentially looks at time and says, it's nothing but an illusion.
Moving on to Section 2, space versus time, a cosmic debate.
Okay, let's dive into this because we really need to unpack this aggressive argument space just threw down. It completely flips how we normally think about reality. Space is boldly claiming absolute independence from the physical world. It's telling time, look, I can exist entirely without the material world, but you cannot. Space is painting time as just hopelessly needy. According to space's argument here, time relies 100% on matter. Unless physical stuff is aging, changing, or moving around, time literally has zero reason to even be there.
Space actually elaborates on this point beautifully. Think about the shape of a stone. Maybe you've got a perfectly round stone, or, I don't know, a completely square one. That concept of shape, it makes absolutely zero sense without the physical stone itself, right? You can't just have a round floating out there in the void. It has to be a round something. Well, space argues that time is exactly the same way. Time isn't a sensory thing. You can't touch it or feel it. Time absolutely fundamentally depends on physical materials to have any meaning whatsoever.
Which brings us to Section 3, the proof of space. Tangible reality.
So space has made some pretty arrogant claims here, and now it's time to put its money where its mouth is. It's going to prove its tangible reality using a very simple rock. Let's walk through this step by step. Step 1. Imagine a stone. That physical body fundamentally fills up and occupies a very specific space. Step 2. If you want to take over that occupied space, you can't just, wish it empty. You have to apply actual physical force to move that first stone out of the way. And step 3, because of that, two stones simply cannot exist in the exact same space simultaneously. And this brilliantly illustrates how, by physically interacting with matter, space fundamentally proves that it is very real.
And here is the absolute knockout punch for space in this debate. Matter absolutely cannot exist without space. I mean, if you have a stone, you have to put that stone somewhere, right? But space? Space can completely exist without matter. Just look up at the night sky into the vastness of the universe. There is empty space out there with absolutely zero matter in it. So yeah, space wins its independence round flawlessly.
Next up, Section 4, time always needs matter, total reliance.
We're shifting the focus now to time's extreme vulnerability, and really, its total, inescapable reliance on physical objects to even enter the conversation. Imagine for a second that a brand new planet is discovered way out in the cosmos. What is the very first question humanity naturally asks? Where is it, right? Our very first instinct, the literal first piece of data we need to even make sense of this discovery, is to establish a location in space.
Then, what's the second question we ask? Since when is it there? Notice the order there. Time only enters the chat as a secondary thought. And this perfectly proves that time can only exist, and we can only even ask the question when if there's an actual physical planet sitting there in the first place.
Let's summarize these strict rules of existence for our two rivals. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark, objective contrast between them. Look at the dependency category. Space is completely independent of matter.
while time is totally dependent on it. Under measurability, space can be proven and felt, just like when we applied force to that stone earlier. But time, it's only measurable through observing a change. And finally, under influence, space actively contains matter, while time is really just passively measuring its movement.
Finally, Section 5, the conclusion of the universe, wrapping up the rivalry.
Let's guide this home and look at the profound synthesis of this whole cosmic debate. After all this arguing, what actually is time really? Well, we can boil it down to its humblest, most basic form. Time is simply the measurement of matter changing, or matter moving from one space to another. That's it. It has no grand, independent existence of its own. It's essentially just a giant cosmic measuring tape for physical stuff. To really hammer this point home, the source material introduces this fascinating, honestly kind of bizarre thought experiment. Think about a spirit realm. How old is God? Or a ghost? Or the devil? In a realm of spirits where beings supposedly live forever and don't age, asking how old they are is entirely meaningless. Because they aren't physical matter that decays or changes. The concept of time has absolutely zero grip on them. It just totally ceases to make sense.
Which brings us to our final, ultimate question to wrap up this explainer. If beings live forever, and if matter were to suddenly just stop changing completely, does time lose its existence entirely? Does time only exist because we are mortal, physical, and constantly decaying? It's a really profound thought to leave you with, and honestly, it might just change the way you look at that ticking clock on your wall forever. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep asking the big questions.